What would happen if a man who wants to break down the barrier between childhood and sexuality was appointed to produce sex education resources for a nation? Well, we don't need to wonder about that in Scotland, because that is exactly what's happened with Dr. Colin Morrison. So let's see how it's working out. Let's go and see what's in store for our children in primary school. How about that image? Imagine that image being shown to a primary school class of boys and girls, labelling those parts of the female anatomy. Most adults, when they see that image, they recoil from it. They think, oh, I don't really want to see that. But that's what the Scottish Government wants projected onto screens in front of classes in primary schools. In primary schools as well, children are taught how to have sex. There's no other way of describing it. But here's a quotation from one of the lesson plans. When a woman feels like having sex, her vulva and vagina might feel tingly and wet or slippery to touch. Inevitably, teach primary school children how to have sex, and what you think is going to happen. Now here we've got a video of two boys falling in love. This video is to be shown to 5 to 9-year-olds. Imagine a 6-year-old boy sitting there watching that. But which do I prefer? Do I prefer boys or do I prefer girls? I prefer playing with boys. Maybe I'm gay. And is that really necessary? Can we not just leave them alone and let kids be kids? Then they might go to maths. You might think, oh, thank goodness, maths. At least they'll be free from all this sexualized content. No. But then you get worksheets like this. Calculate the area of the pride flag. Sheer indoctrination. There's no escape from it in any subject. Going on to secondary school, pornography is quite an important theme. Here's a quotation from a video. Looking at films of people engaging in sexual behaviors is perfectly normal. It is okay. Well, I beg to differ. I think watching pornography is harmful and it's just plain wrong. And in that I agree with the major world religions and a huge proportion of the Scottish population. But the Scottish Government wants children teaching that that's wrong. That actually using pornography is perfectly okay. Right, masturbation, there's lessons about masturbation in which masturbation is positively recommended and promoted to young people. Is that what we send our children to school for? I suspect not. Here's a quotation from the end of this video about masturbation. Put on some music, light those candles, and have yourself a good time. And you can see in the image there, the tissues ready. Other messages delivered in high school. Lesbian sex is probably better than heterosexual sex. That message delivered. Lesbians have more orgasms, apparently. The message is also delivered that anal sex is probably more pleasurable than vaginal sex. Children are taught that they have a right to have illegal underage sex. I know that sounds bizarre, but it is the truth. They're also taught, you know, if a 13-year-old, if you have sex with another 13-year-old, don't worry about the police won't get involved. It will be just fine. With anal sex, major theme. We have some vulgar images like this. You see a sex toy included as well. There's the infamous video of a banana dipping into Nutella, then being withdrawn. What else is on the curriculum? In high school, children are taught about rimming. I mean, licking the anus as a sexual activity. But the Scottish Government thinks it should be presented to young people in school as just one of the many options they can choose from. Other options to choose from, bondage, illustrated here by this trussed up chicken. Again, presented as something, you know, some people give this a try, some people don't. It's up to you. Threesomes, illustrated here by a roll with a hot dog sausage being stuffed into either end of it. I mean, quite disgraceful that the Scottish Government thinks that is what needs to be presented to children in school. And these sexual practices are just presented as, you know, if you fancy giving it a try, there it is. It's just up to you. I disagree. Transgenderism is every subject, every level, you can't get away from it. Right from nursery, the government wants your child to be reading a book about how to make a baby. How do you think you make a baby? Well, you need 3 ingredients: sperm, egg, and uterus. It's like making a cake. If you've got those 3 ingredients, you can make a baby. Where do they come from? Which person do they come from? Doesn't matter. The words man, woman, mother, father, they're not mentioned at all in the book. That's old-fashioned. It's much more modern and up to date. So the Scottish Government wants to bring up a generation of children that believe they're mother and father, man and women. You can forget all that. Sperm plus egg plus uterus, that's what you need to make a baby. Changing gender, of course, is presented as a normal, natural and healthy option, but it's celebrated and it's affirmed and in many cases kept secret from parents, which is an absolute outrage. So Scottish schools, in many cases, they're producing, affirming and celebrating gender change. And there's only two people who are not invited to the celebration, and that is often mum and dad. Now, I could talk about lots of other things that have gone on in Scottish schools recently. Obscene drag performers in high schools and primary schools. There was a primary school in Edinburgh encouraged boys to go to school wearing skirts. We found utter filth on the website of a high school in the Borders. We had a school near to Glasgow where they were advertising, promoting polyamorous relationships on one of their notice boards, relationships with more than two people. But what I'm saying here, we're not saying that sex education is a bad thing. It can be very valuable. What we're saying is that sex education in many Scottish schools is delivering the wrong message in the wrong way. It's harming young people, it's harming children. Now, when you've seen some of these images, maybe you've thought to yourself, surely that's not true. That can't possibly be happening in a school near me. Well, look at the link below this video. You can look at our document that gives you all the references. You can check it for yourself. Maybe you're thinking, how come this is not a big controversy? How come this is not in the media? How come they're not talking about it in the Parliament? Well, the media just seem to have an absolute blackout on the issue. It's a taboo. They will not touch it. In the Scottish Parliament, we've got a range of parties, from ones who think this is just brilliant at one end of the spectrum. At the other end of the spectrum, we've got parties that just don't care about it. Okay, but we do care. We do care. We do care about protecting children from this sort of corruption. So we care and we would stop it. So if you want to help us to do that, you do join the Scottish Family Party via the link below. Because we want to see decency and truth in schools instead of corruption and confusion.